Help capture the history of our markets by contributing to the John Lothian News GoFundMe campaign to support the Markets Wiki Education history-focused video series and more.
This entry in the Path to Electronic Trading series is sponsored by CQG.
In college, I always really enjoyed the investments and trading related business classes. So in college, I actually started trading some stock options out of my dorm room, and I'd see some job listings for things like an option floor clerk. I didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded to me like something I should be interested in. I knew some guys at a company in New York called Spear, Leeds & Kellogg, a specialist firm, and they knew the guys in Chicago at DRW. So I ended up interviewing with and getting hired by DRW and started as a floor clerk in the Eurodollar options and futures pits in the summer of 1994. In the summer of 96, I went into the 10-year note option pit for DRW as a market maker, and I was their first guy in that pit, 24 years old, and kind of spent the first couple months just being 25 up, trying to learn the business. I remember the first time I had a bad day. I was short some options, and it was July of 96. A durable goods number came out, much different than expectations, and I knew right away that I was going to have a bad day. So I went up to Don Wilson that evening, and I said, look, he should be aware that the 10-year note option pit dropped about $35,000. And he looked at me and he said, okay, well, how much money did you make as a clerk last year? And I said, less than that. And he said, okay, well, let's remember, you can lose a lot of money in this business, and always be careful of your risk. So from there, I stayed in that pit for several years. I even did a short stint over at the CBOE in 1999 when markets over there were taking off, and then experienced the dual listing where all of a sudden AOL, for example, was no longer listed just in Chicago. It was now listed on 4 or 5 different exchanges, which really changed the way that the CBOE floor traded. It made the market a lot more efficient, put it that way. But I never really loved the style of trading at the CBOE, and ended up then going and working off the floor, working with some guys who were trading NDX, NASDAQ options. Right around 2003, I decided it was time to go off on my own and trade for myself. And I took some advice and ended up in the Eurodollar back month the back month futures pits, and just working for myself. Started out there, standing in the bottom of the pit, trading 25 up. Gradually built my size up, and then I remember it was one day in about 2005, one of the board members who actually traded in the pit, Pat Lynch, he came in to the pit, and he was showing us a handheld device with electronic trading on it. And he was saying that so these are going to be issued to traders on the floor now, and a lot of the volume now is moving to the screens. And I kind of remember thinking, well, if this guy's a pit trader and he's embracing, and showing off this new device and talking about electronic trading, I better embrace that as well. So signed up for one the next day, and ended up trading a lot of volume on those little handhelds. Once we all learned how to trade electronically, even overnight, I would say the volumes quickly shifted from a lot of the Eurodollar volume trading in Singapore to actually trading on the screen. A couple of the big firms really embraced sort of this idea of trading, almost 23 hours a day, and several guys like Ray Conman, Chris Randall, Dave Adams, Ryan Carlson. These guys would be on the markets. I'd wake up, I could find an edge between 4 a.m. and when the market opened. So I'd be on the screens trading against a bunch of these guys. Collectively, those market makers really helped create a lot of liquidity that I'm sure the customers appreciated. And the market sort of just really quickly moved almost all electronic after that. Some of us ended up staying in the pit a couple extra years because We would trade in the pit with a handheld device, which for me eventually became my own system on a laptop. But we would stand in the pit because some of the last 20 Eurodollar months were still traded in the pit. But yeah, I would say in some cases it could make the market less whippy because you now have 30,000 up spread markets. But at other times it could make it more whippy, whereas you used to have a pit trader that could just, stick his hand up in the air and keep the market, kind of held at one price. Now the market could just sort of skitter right through that quickly. The effect varied, but it was definitely a lot different than the style of pit trading. Obviously, that's for sure. 2006 was one of my busier trading years. It was one of my better trading years, for that matter. But on May 25th, 2006, I woke up with a margin call, and I also woke up with a wife that was saying that she needed to give birth to our second kid a week early. So back in those days, you couldn't, when you got a margin call, you couldn't just take care of it an hour later on a mobile app or something like that. I couldn't even say, okay, I'll bring my laptop to the hospital, hope to catch some Wi-Fi and trade out of it there. So I told my wife, I need like 10 minutes to try to get out of this position and reduce it a little bit. I have a whole mess of Eurodollars on. And she said, no, you don't understand. Like, we need to leave now. So we met somewhere in the middle, and as we were pulling out of the garage, she said, this is not good. So she ended up giving birth as we were pulling up to the hospital downtown. We had all of a 15-minute drive, didn't make it, and I ended up delivering the kid out in front of the hospital. So lesson learned there, always try to stay under margin. The CME Eurodollars had an implied engine. So you could stick a handful of markets up, and you were really represented in practically every single market on the board, every outright. So my trading volumes went up massively once I started trading, putting markets up in all the different listed spreads. At one point, I was on 80,000 Eurodollars a day, which was about being on about 5% of the volume every day for a good, I'd say, 3-year stretch. You really learn how to manage risk that way, and that's what put me into the markets. Like I said, 23 hours a day. Sometimes I'd have positions on where at night I'd put the laptop right next to my bed, I'd turn the volume way up, and I'd put a one lot in the market so that if the market would trade up to that level, I'd get the ding of a fill, and then I would either know that, hey, maybe there's something I want to do here, or maybe there's something I have to do here. So needless to say, my wife got pretty tired of that pretty quickly. But when you're managing your own position, pretty much single-handedly, it's really you have to be committed in that sense if you're going to trade that type of style with open positions. There was a lot more customers coming into the market, so my percentage of the market was going down, and I would actually say that doing more automated trading, it helped stabilize my daily percentage. But by the time we really developed that system, we'd already made the decision that we were going to roll it out as a commercial product. So I actually never even used the ADL system heavily as a market maker myself in the market. And sometimes people would say, well, this guy's bringing his own in-house system out to market. That must mean that he can't make money with it anymore. To which I tell people, no, look, this is a toolbox. Like, it is what you make of it. If you can think it, you can possibly build it. And if you can't, we'll try to give you the tools within it that you can. We're a small, nimble team looking to please. So that system it really enabled people to be creative and kind of take control of their own future, or in some cases actually bridge the fact that they otherwise, as a manual trader, would have possibly found they no longer had a spot in the market. So I'd like to think that we help keep a couple careers alive along the way too. I was talking about trading with my younger cousin who worked at Booz Allen in Washington, D.C., named Rick Lane, and talked Rick into coming out to Chicago. I realized at that point that I would need to kind of embrace a technology strategy to stay relevant in the markets. And he started on board in 2006, and we started doing some, he clerked for a while for me to learn the business, and we started doing some automated trading in the years after that. And it was through developing our own in-house platform that eventually we kind of talked about the fact that, a company like TT had had a stranglehold on electronic trading since early on. Like I remember when electronic spread trading kind of started in my market, maybe around 2004, 2003. There was a system out there called Echo that was known as kind of buggy, and then TT came out and introduced Auto Spreader, and they got huge market share, and guys started trading other markets and Eurodollars using the Auto Spreader. By the time 2009 rolled around, we kind of thought that we had it, our own little in-house system was a pretty crafty system, and we thought we might be able to get some market share. What we offered at the time that we thought was pretty cool was the ability on a single order ticket to attach, to create some smarts on that ticket. So just using simple drag and drop operators, you could create a little algebraic expression that could change the nature of what your order was going to do. A simple example would be you could drag and drop a few things in less than 10 seconds that would tell the order, hey, if the ask quantity drops below this quantity, then change my price. And we thought that was an interesting enough feature that a lot of traders would want to have something like that. From there, we kind of evolved that into what later became our even more visual algo design platform, and we launched to market with that in October of 2009. And we went that route because, frankly, I was getting a little tired watching screens 23 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I think Rick was getting a little bit bored with electronic trading, and we thought there was a great opportunity out there to try to embrace this idea of taking electronic trading to the next level, which was even more automated. We kind of played a role in making automated trading, advancing it maybe even a little quicker, but more importantly, empowering the everyday electronic trader so that they felt like they could create their own automation and compete with the big guys. FIA in 2009, they had just added a new room that year, so we were in the back corner of the most empty room, but we were pretty excited about the fact that we had a line of people waiting to talk to us, and we did one presentation and had a big crowd. So that was kind of a fun experience. And back in those days, realized the Chicago incubators didn't exist. There wasn't a lot of VC investing. There weren't a lot of mentors out there, so it was really just us. And we were trying to figure it out. And along the way, we had met the guys over at TT, and we had some struggles. We had customer demand to go beyond CME. Yet the ICE Exchange was not supporting us as a new vendor. We put together a petition and went to them and said, hey, look at all these customers that want to use our platform. But that was a big struggle. And it was also a little unforeseen that some of the bigger FCMs were a little resistant to supporting another system. So when we did meet the guys at TT, we realized a lot of those barriers for our system, for our platform, for our technology, for our customers could all be taken away if we would just become part of TT. And we did a deal with them that closed in June of 2010. They really liked the ADL platform. That was kind of what they preserved from what we did. And to this day, that remains TT's #1 automated trading tool, which is the ADL. In my opinion, high-frequency trading is really just another way of saying really fast automated trading. So you could say that the automated market making I was doing on the screen in 2007 was the precursor to high-frequency trading. Our system always ran not at the client location, so it always ran kind of in a more server, cloud-based setup. So it was always really, really fast. It was always, trying to shave off milliseconds and nowadays microseconds. It's a pretty versatile system, so somebody can use it to create, they can go beyond market-making strategies. They can run quant strategies. They can run things that fire just off of different events in the market, some more sniping-like. So we like to say, as far as that platform goes, if you can think it, you can design it and run it. Over time, especially since it transitioned from Ticket to TT, there's been a lot of advancement of it, and now there's things like an analytics block where you can design things related to different analytics in the market that you design yourself. The TT score system is an AI software surveillance platform used by both FCMs, trading firms, even individual traders, where in a visual way it flags what outlier behavior could be. And as far as TT's ADL and our own methods for controlling that, we prevent somebody from even be able to create an infinite loop. So we'll flag that as either not even possible in some cases, or just as abnormal behavior that gets flagged. We do try to give ADL as sort of a toolbox. It gives people a lot of capabilities, but we also try to limit the ability for them to create things that could have consequences that they didn't expect.
John Lothian News would like to thank those individuals who have contributed to our MarketsWiki Education GoFundMe campaign. Their financial assistance allows us to produce and distribute videos like this for our Open Outcry Traders History Project or the Path to Electronic Trading video series. Join them in supporting John Lothian News, capturing the history of our industry.